A new trailer for Captain America Brave New World just dropped, and if seeing Harrison Ford as Red Hulk, Anthony Mackie slicing a burning car, and Giancarlo Esposito lighting up a political party weren't enough, was that a widow? Salutations and fist bumps, folks. Welcome back to The Grid, and as per usual, we don't have a whole lot of time. Let's ride. The trailer opens with Isaiah Bradley in an orange jumpsuit talking to Cap, which seems like he requested him and only him. And as a quick refresher, remember that Isaiah was first and or last seen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier in 3 episodes, specifically episode 5. And it is there, at least in the MCU, that we found out that he had been experimented on in the 1950s, while the government was trying to find another subject for the super soldier serum. He, being the only survivor, then being deployed to find Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier. And upon his return to the US, the government feared the ramifications of having a black Captain America and imprisoned him for 3 decades. After being released and his death was faked, he was then taken to Baltimore in the 1980s.
In Baltimore, having big fun.
Now that we have that out of the way, this would be Isaiah's second stint in prison after it seems like he flipped tables and people because of what was said or not said in a congressional hearing or a town hall. Then Sam asks him, is there anything that you remember? Which for me seems like Isaiah literally blacked out until he was taken into custody at the end of that battle. Looking at the audience though, inside of that town hall or congressional hearing, we get our first glance at Joaquin Torres, who is played by Danny Ramirez, who is now the new Falcon. And paying close attention to Joaquin and Sam, it looks like they are looking for a threat inside of that room, possibly Giancarlo's character, because as we later find out, the enemy is presumed to be inside of the president's camp. We then hear Thaddeus Ross being announced as president.
The President of the United States, Thaddeus Ross.
Who is then shot at through a presumed bulletproof glass window or glass encasing. And by the way, his announcement comes after Ellis and possibly even Trump. Then we see Isaiah lose it, and then either him or Sam jump out of a bay window, which is set between Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, who are the 3rd and 4th presidents, respectively. But also, as we see Isaiah throwing a Secret Service agent like a rag doll, we can also see a holographic screen, which I presume is what they were watching or using to watch the announcement of Thaddeus Ross. Then after Isaiah is taken into custody, we hear him tell Sam, whatever this is, Cap, be careful. Now, hearing Mr. Bradley call Sam Cap seems like a double-edged statement. On the one hand, it's a sign of respect for his now stature, and on the other hand, because of Isaiah's own situation with that shield, it seems like he has a little bit of a sore spot because of it. Later, we hear Thaddeus, as he is debriefed on the shooting that happened, that there were 5 people specifically, but also that he was a wartime general, which we saw in Incredible Hulk and also recently inside of X-Men 97, the series. Then in the split screen, as he mentions his wartime duties, we see or get our first glimpse of Giancarlo, who is disguised as a Secret Service agent, who, by the way, seems to have really high free reign to just walk wherever he's going inside of the White House. But let's back up a little bit. Can we admire the sheer production value of this set, specifically the Oval Office, because we all know that each president has their own flair and style in terms of what they place and bring inside of the Oval Office. And Thaddeus is no different. Basically, his is completely blank because of the fact that he's a general, or his mindset is general-esque. So he gets straight to the point, nothing else, no fluff, and everything is exactly where you would expect it to be. Later, we are taken to a military gravesite, whom I presume that Ross had connections with, or possibly these are loved ones of his. Then in another split screen montage, we are shown battleships lined up in a similar strategic way that you would do inside of the actual game called Battleship. And by the way, there is an MCU version of Battleship called Battleship Marvel Legends Wakanda Forever. But inside of the missile launch sequence, we see 2 potential Japanese threats that are targeting the Fifth Fleet. And I find this slightly ironic because of the fact that the Fifth Fleet is usually stationed inside of the Middle East. But later we then hear Thaddeus Ross speaking to Sam, saying that he is not Sam Rogers.
What?
Which he agrees with, and though the two were friends, Sam and Steve, this line speaks to the ongoing tension of the US and a black Captain America. Then we hear Sam say that we are on the brink of war, and I'm presuming that he is talking to Joaquin or Ross at this moment. But the real question here is a war with who? Possibly this could be a war with Japan because of the images that we saw earlier, but this also could be a war for a different type of power. Because, as I've speculated on this channel before, because of the events of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, we understand that there is vibranium in different parts of the world and not just in Wakanda. Then, as Joaquin says that he can't trust anyone, we see on the other side of him a chair that is tinted in a red-hued room, which possibly could be where the experiments happened for the super soldier serum, and also where Thaddeus Ross got his injection. Later, in potentially the same gravesite as before, we see a casket with the US flag over it. And at the moment, I'm torn between this being Isaiah Bradley or someone else, because it looks like in the front of that crowd that Isaiah Bradley is inside of this area, and behind him is Sam and Joaquin. And as soon as I saw this, I immediately thought or wondered if this scene was shot the same way that the Endgame scene in terms of the funeral scene was also shot, because in that scene, nobody knew what they were actually shooting. But could this be that nobody understands who is actually inside of that casket? Then after we see Sam get his shield from Falcon, we see a room that looks to be connected to the red chair room from before that reads, or that has tape that reads, "Reset Ross, Reset America," as we hear the voice of Giancarlo, who is presumed to be playing Seth Volker, aka Sidewinder. And if you don't know a little bit about him, he has the ability to teleport. So it's a possibility that during this shootout that happened in the beginning of the trailer, that he has now taken Thaddeus Ross and injected him with the super soldier serum, which unbeknownst to Thaddeus Ross has actually happened. And I might be reaching from the far left corners of my mind again in terms of the MCU, as I do a lot on this channel, but does that look like Natasha? I know she's gone, but she seems or favors her a lot. But this could also be the same woman that debriefed Ross in the earlier part of the trailer. So we might have to go with that. Then as Ross says or mentions that he doesn't want a variable out there that he cannot control, it's presumed that he is talking about Cap, because he's standing in front of a big board that says Cap status, meaning that Sam Wilson is now frenemy number one of the US government, because he's Captain America for one, but he also does not trust them. Then later, getting our full-on glimpse of Giancarlo in his full villain glory, the way that he's portraying this character makes me feel or puts me in the mindset of his character from Far Cry. But I want to draw your attention to the setting that is behind him, because it feels or seems very similar to the Rebel setting that was shown in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So could it be that he is also now working with Sharon Carter? Then in the next clips, after Ross punches out a soldier, we hear and see the lady from earlier who was possibly either talking to Sam or Thaddeus Ross. And if she's talking to Sam, she's trying to warn him about what's going on inside of the president's camp, or this could be the ending portion of the debrief that happened with Ross and her. Then another mystery woman, or the same mystery woman, does the famous Black Widow wall run and takedown. And I know, I understand, I get it that Natasha is gone. But who is this woman? Now, a guess could be that this mystery woman is being played by Rosa Salazar, who on the Google cast list is said to be actress, but she doesn't actually have a full character name just yet. And then the thing that we've all been waiting for since we found out that this was going to happen, a full glimpse of Thaddeus Ross Harrison Ford as Red Hulk.
What?
To which a reporter says,
Since when were they red?
and the they that she's speaking about would be She-Hulk, Hulk, and Abomination, which are all green or have a hue of green or gray. And none of them are red, at least at this point. No one has ever seen a Red Hulk in the MCU until now. But as Thaddeus Ross turns into Red Hulk, in the background, you can see Zosha Rockmore, who is most known for her role in Cherish the Day. Then as Cap does the shield kickflip, the road that they are fighting on is presumably in front of or somewhere around the White House, because that's where the press conference that we just saw actually happened, or possibly happened. But I did some more digging, and this could also be other places as well, specifically starting with Chicago's South Side on Stony Island. Or this could be also in Germany on Cherry Blossom Avenue. Well, that's all the stuff that I found. Did I miss anything? Leave that down in the comments, and if you want more MCU news, go ahead and hit this playlist right over here, and if you want to walk down memory lane, hit this one over here. And until next time, until next video, y'all be smooth. Blurred out.